This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is why the Niconico Pride is such a firm favourite.
It's Kinky Tail.
He just looks ready for a fight. This is still her territory.
The Avoca boys are here to stay.
How insane was that?
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Safari Live, where hopefully we're going to be able to show you lots and lots of big cats. Now, I'm actually walking on an exceptionally large animal pathway, and a pathway as big as this can only mean one thing. It means that this should take us to water. And on a hot day like today, I'm surprised we haven't already bumped into any elephants. However, I do know that there's a leopard by the name of Thandi, and her tracks were coming in this direction. This is the closest watering source, so I think we're going to hang around here near Galago Pan. But the animals have been up to all sorts of wonderful things this past week. Let's go take a look and see what all the animals were doing. The Niconico Pride and two Mangeni subadults popped onto Djuma. They navigated through the buffalo herds but were unsuccessful. They then had to move further south in search of better hunting grounds. Hosana has been doing a fair bit of walking. He ventured far north, further than where he'd normally wander, but it wasn't long before he returned to his usual hangout. Tingana demonstrated how important it is to move around as he patrolled his territory. However, he eventually caught himself a warthog, which meant he spent most of his days moving between his kill and Treehouse Dam. This is where he could quench his thirst. Corky the hyena hasn't had to move much, as the leopards, including a brief sighting of Hukamori and Thandi, have been in close proximity of her den, and all with meals which she could potentially scavenge. The Mara teams have been battling the rainstorms in the afternoon. I highly doubt Waffles and the rest of the North Clan are enjoying this. The lions of the Mara are thrilled that the migration is in full swing, and they spend most of their time hunting wildebeest, then taking long naps before they all get up and do it again. Well, the leopards are surely busy here in the Sabi Sand, and, well, the lions in the Mara are still doing all the lion things that they get up to. And hopefully David is going to be able to find you some of those big cats out in East Africa. Otherwise, we've got Tristan and Sydney also out. I'm going to be giving Tristan a hand this afternoon, and we're going to be searching for Thandi. And the reason why we're going to be doing this and working in this area, I think is probably going to be easier, because Thandi likes to walk around in circles, serpentines. We all know this. So I think that's going to be the best thing to do this afternoon. Right, well, I'm not exactly sure what Sydney has managed to find, but it sounds like there's something lurking around some trees.
I have got something hanging there. You can see as we are going up, this was an impala looking at the color and the tracks. Here comes the lovely spotted cat. This cat is the big duke of the Djuma. This is Tingana. You can see that he's having his afternoon meal. It seems like there's been quite a lot of activities taking place here. Next to Tingana, there's also hyenas. A very, very good afternoon and welcome to the beginning of the Safari Live show. I am Sydney Fumunani Mikosi, and I am traveling with Sebastian, who is my camera operator this afternoon. We are lucky already. No need for me to introduce my actual plan. I've already executed, done deal with my plan. Here is Tingana. For your questions and comments, you can follow us on YouTube chat stream. You can also follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. So you can see that the hyena there is waiting under the tree for small pieces of meat to fall down. Oh, he's winning. I can hear he's crushing some bones. A half of bread is better than nothing. He is still eating. This carcass has been here for the past couple of hours. It has been here since yesterday morning, and it is this impala which has been feeding feeding which has been feeding 3 different big cats. Hosana was here. We saw Umfokazi here. Now it's Tingana. It's just that the competition is too high for the other cats. Now we've got the big one. So now let's go to Tristan, who is also about to kickstart his game drive.
Indeed we are, Sydney. We are out and about looking around to see what we can find, and as you can see we are at Treehouse Dam. Now the reason we're at Treehouse Dam is obviously because where Sydney is sitting with that impala carcass and Tingana is not very far away, and there was a number of other leopards that were around there in the last couple of days, and so we thought we'd check here in case anyone's come for water. As Sydney mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got Wiem this afternoon, and it is a very, very beautiful day, and so hopefully we're going to get lucky with one of our spotted cats. We're on the lookout for Hosana. I'm not sure if he is still around where Sydney is at the moment. Sydney says he'll keep me updated, so we're going to try and see if we can find him. I thought he might have come down for a little bit of water and just tried to see if he can get some kind of a thirst quenching done. But it's quite interesting with this carcass, because that carcass has been there for 2 days now, and it's been fairly kind of overcast and cold, and there's not really been much happening. But normally what you find when the leopard's on a carcass, it will hoist it up, then it will come down and it'll go and have water and go back and forth from the carcass quite regularly, like we saw with Tingana on his warthog kill earlier in the week. But now what we're seeing is, because there's been multiple different leopards there, it seems that there's not one track for a leopard coming and drinking at Treehouse Dam, and it's probably because they're all too scared to leave that carcass, because the one is going to steal it from the others. So at the moment it's a stalemate, and it seems as though that means none of them are actually coming to drink. I was secretly hoping though that we were going to come down to this water point and maybe find Mfakazi just lying here having a bit of a rest with a nice big full tummy, but it doesn't seem like that's the case, and I haven't found any tracks for him so far from where he was last night at the carcass. So I wonder which way he actually ended up being chased. Maybe he ended up kind of running further away, or he might still be in that area just watching from a long distance. Tingana seemed quite alert and was looking around quite a lot this morning, and so I wonder if maybe, just maybe, that leopard is still somewhere close by. So we'll keep a lookout. We're going to do a few little loops around here. We're also going to try and see if we can head up a bit further north and try and find Thandi and Kalamba this afternoon with the help of Taylor on walks. So that's the kind of plans. Lots and lots of spotted plans for the afternoon, and hopefully we'll get some sort of success at some point. But it is a glorious day compared to this morning, which was windy and miserable and cloudy. We now have beautiful sunshine. It's clear. There's a bit of a breeze blowing. That's still quite cool, but otherwise it is the most perfect conditions to be out on a safari, and so hopefully we are going to get lots that's going to happen during the course of the afternoon. It should be an exciting one. Now, talking about helping Taylor McCurdy on bushwalk, Taylor is busy kind of moving about, and I think she's trying to find the last tracks that I had of Thandi, and let's see how she's going.
Well, we've come down to a beautiful drainage system at the moment, which is filled with Dacre and Steenbok and a lot of, well, kudu, nyala, bushback. So I'm hoping that they might give us a hand. But I also think that's probably why Thandi has come into this area. She doesn't just have to hunt for herself. You must remember that Thandi has a youngster now. She's almost a sub-adult. So she's actually, the last time I saw her, she was about half the size of Thandi. She's grown since then. And from the pictures that I've been seeing, she's not much, shorter than her mother. So, well, Thandi's got to work a little bit harder than she had to a couple of months ago, now that young Kalamba is growing. And I suppose something like a Dacre or a Steenbok, which is a very small antelope, isn't really going to be much for the two of them. So coming down over here, like I said, lots of bushbuck, lots of Inyala, and Thandi has proven herself time and time again in tackling, prey much, much larger than she is. I remember once a few years ago when she'd actually taken down a fully grown waterbuck cow by herself, which is just unbelievable to think. But anyways, so she's come searching through here, and, something else that Thandi has to do quite often with Kalamba is go looking for her daughter. Leaving only tracks behind the last few days, Sydney finally managed to catch up with Thandi. Between the pesky flies, young Kalamba, who refuses to listen when called, and the scorching temperatures, Thandi's patience was wearing thin. Especially when a hyena shows up on the scene, and in typical hyena fashion, it managed to scavenge the remains of something. Thandi continued to call Kalamba while simultaneously snarling at the inquisitive hyena. Darkness fell over the Sabi sand, and Tandi continued to search for her daughter. So nothing just yet on Tandi's tracks, but where is Tlalamba? How crazy is that? I can't believe that as Tlalamba has gotten older and older, her listening skills have gotten worse. Normally they should improve. But anyways, from what Tristan said to me, it seems like Tlalamba and Tandi were reunited, so there's no need to worry about that. And her tracks were somewhere just a little bit to the east of us. That's just up and over the drainage line. There's a road called Gari Cut Line. She was down that side and has come this way. So that's good news, because we know where young Tlalamba was left, hopefully, and I'm sure she is safe and sound, maybe resting up in a tree somewhere or in a drainage line. I'm hoping that if we do pick up on Tandi's tracks, we'll either see them going back towards Tlalamba, which will be great too, because then that means that she's potentially caught something throughout the day, or maybe they just keep coming this way. Then we're really going to have our work set out for us. But that's okay. We'll just get on the move and keep on marching along until we hopefully get to the last footprints. But I think leopards are plaguing the minds of the guides here in the Sabi sand. They are for Sydney. And, let's go and see what is happening a little bit further south from where we are.
Look at that. You can see that this cat is still feeding here. And thank you very, very much to all the viewers who rectified my wrong identification, as this is not Tingana. This is Hosana having something to eat there. But now, let's go and see Tingana, who is also not very far away from where I am. So Tingana is the one I was looking for when I got here, and then I thought it was him who was up in the tree. So I can see that Tingana is right here, and he's not worried by anything. He's just very much relaxed right here. So you can see that Tingana is just resting under some shade there. The tree that is resting under does not even have leaves. He's just relying on some of the branches, giving him some shade. Lulu, sorry, Mfokazi, we didn't see him when we got here. It seems like Mfokazi moved off, maybe back to where he was coming from. I am not too sure where exactly Mfokazi was from, but I saw that according to the records, it's an animal which is occurring much more towards Manyeleti and Buffalo's Hook, and also sometimes comes here in Juma. You can see that is the nose that made me to have confused. So now let's see what Tingana has been doing during the week. Something interesting has happened. Tingana never want to miss out an easy meal set patiently on a termite mound. In a flash, he latched onto a screaming warthog. It was too late for this prey to react. His long canines are still sharp enough to penetrate the thick skin despite his old age. After a dusty dumble, this big cat managed to quickly subdue his prey. And that was one of the best sightings to Tristan, who was very lucky to see this kind of an old cat taking down an animal with such a very thick skin. His teeth are still very much sharp and strong in order to open that very thick skin for the warthog. I think it was Steve who was so lucky, not Tristan. My apologies. Look at that. So you can see this animal, when it's relaxed like this, you cannot even think that is the one who was catching the warthog. It doesn't look like it's the same animal. He's still very strong. So now let's go back to Tristan, who is looking at something.
I am looking at dryness. I'm busy trying to check all the water points in case there's something going on. And actually what we found, even though it's not one of our cat characters, is very, very interesting because it's two birds that have started to arrive for the summer. Now, we're going to get a lot of our migratory birds arriving. We've already had the Wahlberg's eagles, but now there in front is a green shank that has arrived. This is the first green shank that I've seen in a long time, which is very, very cool. And then off to the right and down a little bit is another bird that is a marsh sandpiper. So there's the marsh sandpiper that is busy moving around as well. Now, both of these birds are migratory, and they move from winter, they go further away, and then in summer they come down into these areas, and they'll be hoping that there'll be a little bit more water than what there is now, because it's going to make life very tricky for them. You can also see that there are impala around, and so that would be the reason why we're coming to these water points, is because it's this time of the day that a number of animals come and drink, and often the predators will make use of that, particularly because it's not that hot this afternoon. It's not blisteringly hot like we've had during the course of the week. It's actually fairly cool for this time of the day, and so we might see some of the predators taking advantage of that and potentially trying to stalk around. Now, Kimberly, you say, wow, it looks dry. It is the driest that I have seen Twin Dam since I've been with SafariLive, and that means that, you know, we really are looking for rain. You can see how the mud is starting to crack. It's quite desperate, and if we don't get rain in, I would say, the next probably 2 weeks, and we continue to have hot temperatures like we have, this will probably dry out completely, and we'll just have cracked mud, which is really quite sad. It's a reason why we're not seeing a lot of the elephants and buffalo herds that we often do see down in this part of the reserve, is because the water is really just drying out. This is not enough water to sustain an elephant herd at all. You might find them mud wallow here, but they won't drink this, and so it's going to be a bit desperate for a number of our animals to actually find the water that they need in order to survive. So it's going to be a tough time ahead. Hopefully we get some rain soon. One big storm and this will fill up quite nicely. It's a good catchment section, so it's really very, very, very dry at the moment. Now, I believe I need to send you somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but they do have a warthog, and hopefully this one is alive.
Well, we've come across a small family of warthogs. I can just see one at the moment, but I thought I saw some others further back. Now, obviously Tingana and also a leopard by the name of Hukamori have mastered the art of taking down warthogs. And this is a female. We're obviously quite a distance away, and she's quite suspicious that we're over here. You can see how she's staring in our direction. I did actually stand on a small branch, which she may have heard. Definitely something's caught her attention, whether it was maybe the sight of us moving around or she heard us. Not sticking. Oh no, actually trying to get a better position. I thought she was going to walk off. Just trying to see if she gets a different angle. So this is what we're doing right now, is behaving exactly like predators. We're not moving, we're standing very, very still. And that's exactly what a leopard would do. Ravinda, it's always safe out here. Even though there's a new leopard around, we probably walk past a whole bunch of leopards and don't even know that they're there. So you don't have to worry about that. That doesn't change anything at all. He'll probably run away from us. I doubt he's been walked very much. See, this pig is still looking at us. Now, they don't have the greatest senses, unfortunately. Their eyesight is probably not their best. I think they rely on their nose and their hearing as their sort of prominent senses. See, not sure. Knows that there's something here, but doesn't know what it is. And even though I don't necessarily want to eat this warthog, it'll still run away from us. It's not as relaxed as a group of impala. Probably because it's on its own. Maybe it's a young boar, actually. Now that it turned away, it just didn't have nah, I'm going to stick with my guns. What did you think? Female. Craig says a male. Oh, Craig said a male. He can see he's got the camera zoomed in. I do not have the camera zoomed in. We're probably about 80 meters away from it. Still a very young male then, as he turned. There we go. Very, very young still. Still have very long, wispy white whiskers, which typically the female have much sort of more prominent white whiskers than the boars do. The boars obviously get the really big tusks. So he must be, maybe has just recently left his family group, because you just see little white tusks kind of sticking out. And they'll get big, they'll get dangerous, exceptionally sharp. So even though a leopard might have the upper hand in terms of being able to be quite stealth-like, they've got obviously sharp claws and very sharp teeth, needs to be careful. And so do the leopards, because leopards can indeed get hurt. Right, well, Sydney, of course, is having a great afternoon already, and Tingana's around. I'm pretty sure he'd probably want to eat what we were just looking at.
Look at that tail. This tail can go long up to 65 to 90 to 100 centimeters. So it's one of the very much important tool for these animals to have a balance when they are climbing these very big trees. So you can see that the impala, these animals were feeding on, it's a good thing. I think that impala was too big. There's no need for Tingana to defend it. Maybe he can only defend a carcass where he lost quite a lot of energy during the chase, but this was just food for free on both Hosana and Tingana. So there's no need for them to fight. So you can see that this leopard might move at any time to the nearest waterhole. I can see that it's very thirsty, but the tummy is looking very, very big at the moment. So that was quite a very big impala. So now let's go back to Tristan, who is now driving. I'm not too sure where he is in the reserve.
Well, I'm in the Mulwati at the moment, Sydney, and that's because we are trying to find our queen in this area. We're trying to look for Tandi. I know that she was tracks were around Gallagher Pan, but I think in all likelihood she left Kralamba off Gari Cutline. And so I'm wondering if maybe if I just do the Mulwati up towards kind of Nyala Road, just check that she hasn't maybe come back. It seemed like she was hunting this morning, and so just double checking that she's maybe not moved back into this area and is actually kind of moving about in the shade of the Mulwati and maybe potentially even hunting down here. She often comes this way when she is trying to hunt. She'll move into these sections and she'll kind of stalk around in these thickets. So that's what we're going to look for. There's no sign of Umfukazi going to Treehouse or to Twin Dams. Didn't pick up anything crossing Philemon's cut line. So in all likelihood he must have at some point gone over Weaver's Nest and maybe headed a little bit more to the sort of southeast, and so that's also part of the reason why I want to drive the Mulwati here, because I'll pick up his tracks very quickly if he came southeast. The kill where Sydney is at the moment is directly to my northwest at the moment, and so it's a straight line towards where we are now would be about right. So that's why we're checking around here. This is a big pathway that you find leopards often use, but there's no tracks for a leopard today crossing. What tracks are these? No, those are also not tracks that we're looking for. So just lots of antelope tracks in the Mulwati, which is, I suppose, fairly well to be expected actually. At the end of the day, it's a great place for a lot of the antelope species to be able to spend a lot of time. Now there is a warthog over there. It's just got its backside towards us, hidden around. Now I'm pretty sure the warthogs at the moment are hating the fact that it is so dry at the moment, because, well, there's really nowhere for them to hide, and they keep getting caught out by these leopards as they try and kind of make their way back to their mounds, and the sort of dust of them going in and out of mounds is very easy for a leopard to spot, and so they are, I'm sure, hoping for a little bit more of rain to come. There'll also be a lot of them will be pregnant now and be having their little ones soon. You normally start to see them around October, which is, I suppose, a leopard's kind of candy store times. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see if Hosana is going to try and hunt warthogs at this time of the year, these little piglets, because he's going to have to start graduating as a male leopard and start kind of going after little piglets. It's something that male leopards do quite regularly, so he's going to have to learn that. And last year he didn't, so I'm quite interested to see this year if he does. Now, talking about Hosana and learning things, he obviously has a very clever mind, because this week he showed just how clever and cunning he can be as he slunk into an opportunity of a meal.
An older male leopard by the name of Umfukazi showed up on Juma. We spotted him from a distance in a marula tree with an impala kill. He seemed to be quite shy and dashed down the tree and vanished into thin air. Next, Hosana, who had been watching from a distance, seized the opportunity to steal his kill. The hyena arrived in full force and lingered below the tree, hoping for a few scraps. Hosana then repositioned the kill to one of the higher branches with absolute ease. He was lucky he didn't lose the kill he had stolen to the true scavengers down below.
Wasn't that absolutely incredible? It's amazing to see how Hosana has learnt a lot from the past few months. We know that the past few months he's had a lot of issues with Tingana and Tandi stealing his kills, and he's, I'm sure, learnt some valuable lessons from that. And what he's probably learnt is that if a carcass is unattended, well, it's anyone's game. And so he ran in there and managed to feed, and he used the fact that the other male leopard had moved off, hyenas were about, and the hyenas would probably have kept that other male leopard at bay to a degree to be opportunistic enough to get himself a really good meal. So very, very clever from Hosana, and it just goes to show that he's slowly but surely starting to learn how to become an adult male leopard and really how to look after himself. The only problem is that he needs to be very careful with doing those kind of things. Other bigger male leopards like the likes of Hukamuri or Anderson probably wouldn't be nearly as sort of tolerant, and also probably wouldn't have been nearly as shy of the vehicles, and therefore wouldn't have opened that opportunity. But if he's going to rush in like that, he's going to have to be very, very careful and make sure that he's paying attention. Interestingly enough though, he's obviously still fairly kind of wary of other leopards, because he managed to not get a single scratch or scar on him with this whole altercation with Umfakazi. He didn't get in any way, kind of seems as though he didn't get physically hurt by him in any way or remotely get close to him, and so he still knows that he needs to be a little bit careful, and his kind of behavior around Dad and Tandi is very different than it is around Hukamuri and potentially other leopards. And so, you know, with Umfakazi he was a lot more aware of what was going on, but he saw the gap and bolted upright and got himself a really good meal. So very, very, very clever from Hosana, and he's going to need those techniques later in life if he is to succeed and to be able to find food regularly, and it's part of a leopard's kind of modus operandi. They go around and they do steal from many others, and they will steal from females, they'll steal from younger males, like Hosana has happened to him with Tingana. And so, you know, it's important that he learns how to go about it and where and when is the right times to do it, especially now while he's still quite young. So it's going to be interesting to see if he tries it again with other leopards. He's still obviously very, very kind of wary of Tingana. You can see now, even with Sydney this afternoon, that Tingana still is the boss at the moment, and he wouldn't try, I don't think, do that with Tingana being around. But you never know, the two of them have a unique relationship, and that means that they kind of end up doing all kinds of things that are unusual and unique. So watching Tingana and Hosana together is a very special thing, and watching him interact with other leopards is very, very intriguing, and he's such a special character that I'm so glad we have him around. James Lee, he did bite off a bit more than he could chew. Unfortunately, poor Mfakazi killed that impala in really the worst possible place. He killed it kind of dead center of Juma, and that meant that the two sausages in the form of Hosana and Tingana were not going to let that pass at all. And so poor kind of Mfakazi, and eventually, unfortunately, had to kind of give it up to both sausage 2.0 first and then sausage 1.0 in the form of Tingana. So it wasn't a great place for him to have killed it, and being sort of more nomadic, smaller leopard in many respects than somebody like Tingana, it made it sort of a bit of a difficult time for him. Anyway, these Nyala are going to kind of disappear now shortly, so we're going to send you across to David up in the Mara, and he is looking around all over the place, I'm sure, for maybe the Owinyo Pride, and hopefully he's had a bit of luck.
A very good afternoon, and hello everyone wherever you are in the world, and welcome to a sunset safari drive all the way in Kenya, and we are in the Mara Triangle. Two vultures to start our drive today, and I'm sure most of you have been wondering where I have been. My name has never changed, David always, and luckily Manu on camera today. Good morning, Manu. Oh, very good. I thought Manu is asleep. You might have been wondering where we have been. We have been having some technical issues, and we've got a gentleman who is very handsome by the name of Edwin, and we tried for him to come on the camera to say hi. He refused. If all of you know Conrad in South Africa, I think both of them are very handsome. Anyhow, remember, this is a very interactive safari. Your questions are very much welcome. Any comments you may have, please send it through, as usual, #SafariLive. Don't forget to follow us also on the YouTube chat stream, as zebras are walking through there. The migration still very solid in the Mara Triangle, and this is just a small herd of what maybe we'll be seeing much later. We've got loads and loads of wildebeests and zebras around this time around, and not very far from where we are. When we were fixing our problem, we saw more vultures. Apart from the first two we showed you, we saw a lot more elsewhere and a different species of vultures. Sorry, please, you may have to come bring a question again. Teddy Bear, you are answering or you're asking. Teddy Bear, the hottest country in Africa. Well, it depends on the time of the year. As I move on, we'll try and go closer to that little raptor there. It depends on what country, Teddy Bear, you are talking about. For me, I would say to the north of Kenya, to the north of the equator, as you go towards, say, Egypt, Morocco, those countries in general are always very hot. And they have a lot of desert-like, I would say habitat. But as you come south of the equator towards South Africa, and not, of course, all the areas are green, but we are a lot cooler here. I would say Namibia sometimes gets very hot, but for me I would say north of Africa, Egypt, Morocco, and those countries further north are pretty hot. We've come much closer to the vultures we saw from a distance. How is that, Manu? And I just want to point out at these vultures because they're very special for so many reasons. We got different species of vultures in East Africa. In Kenya in particular, we got 7 true vultures. This one is the largest in size, while all the other vultures go in big groups or in big flocks of 15, 20, sometimes 50. These ones only go in 2s, and my guess is always a male and a female. You'll keep watching that as I try to dig out my book. And this one is called the Nubian vulture or the lappet-faced vulture. Nubian vulture or the lappet-faced vulture. It is the largest in size and also the strongest vulture that we have in Kenya. Not sure it's very warm for it because I think it's trying to cool off by opening the wings there. And if you're lucky to see the head, you'll notice the head is bald, doesn't have any feathers covering it. We'll just wait a few seconds and see whether, yes, look at the head there. And notice, unlike the other 6 species of vultures, this one is always bald. Hopefully you'll be able to see the other one, but in the meantime, let's find out what Tingana is doing.
You can see now that the tip of the nose here is very, very dark, and this is how I easily distinguish between the two. But this afternoon I made a mistake because the nose for Hosanna is full of blood, and the blood shades the color. I couldn't manage to recognize Hosanna very well. So look at that. You can see the colors here by the stomach looks completely different from the head. So the head is gold, and underneath the stomach is much more white. So he looks very tired at the moment. This cat has been feeding a lot last week. He is not scavenging here because he is hungry. So now let's see some of the displays which were done by Tingana after having a warthog on the menu. Dealing with a warthog is not an easy exercise on the menu. After a long hot day of feeding on his warthog, Tingana went to the nearest waterhole to quench his thirst as the sun set. When he got there, he settled in for a long drink with his stomach full. The heat of the day was still beating down, and this big cat could not manage the long walk back to his kill. And so he lay down close by for his digestive system to reduce his massive stomach and wait for the heat of the day to pass. You can see that these kind of animals, after feeding on some of the very strong skin, they have got to go to the nearest holes and drink water he was battling to find space in order to get water in there, as the stomach was looking very, very big, and then later just decided to lie there so that he can lose weight a little bit. It seems like he is listening to me. Shamwa, the big cat is indeed, everybody likes the big cats indeed. So I hope he's going to wake up now and go back to the carcass and show us some of the activities. As now he's just resting, but I'm going to leave him now and see if we can have a better sighting of Hosana. So I can see it's very much setting. So now let's go back to the bush walk where Taylor is also looking for something interesting.
So we've managed, well, I haven't, but Herbie, who of course is on bushwalk with us this afternoon, has managed to pick up on Thandi and Tlalamba's tracks. So that could mean one of two things. That could mean that Thandi has made a kill and she's bringing Tlalamba here, or she was just moving a little bit further west and north and thought that it was a bit far away to drop Tlalamba that side. So she's gone to fetch her and put her in another safe spot. Now her tracks came in this direction and they were going towards one of two termite mounds. This was one of them. And then there's another one just to the right of us. So we're trying to figure out which termite mound she would have used as a vantage point. And I think it's a good idea that she does it here because it's fairly open. But with all the fallen trees and things around like that, just standing up on higher ground would definitely give her a better advantage. She'd also be able to see down and on the other side of some of these fallen logs. And at the moment, the common dacre and the steenbok are using them for cover. They're kind of hiding around. So often when you see like an area like this is a bush willow. And you'll see a dacre sort of just curled up here, just sitting in the corner, camouflaged, using the tree to its advantage. Or the same thing over here. If you come this way, look at all these spots, just laying in and amongst here, with perhaps just ears and things sticking out. It's a really, really good spot. So she wants to be careful about it. She wants to make sure that she sneaks around. Can I please have that again? I'm so sorry. I didn't get the beginning part of the question. Now, say my name. No, I don't think collaring Thandi would be beneficial. It would be very beneficial to the people doing research on her. However, for us, I think a collar can be a bit of a hindrance sometimes to their animals, especially something like a leopard. So, it's best to lead them off it. This is a lot more fun, is finding animals this way. Sorry, something has caught my eye, but I think it's just a branch that's dangling. It looks like an animal hanging from a tree, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a branch that's maybe broken. So I don't think I'd actually ever work on a reserve where they were constantly tracking the predators to be able to find them. That takes a lot of the fun out of it. The art and skill that comes with tracking is exceptional. So it's all about that experience. So if we were to just jump on the GPS and be able to go, yeah, cool, that's where Thandi is, it would get a little bit boring, don't you think? You literally just be driving to a guaranteed... And actually, no, it's not a guaranteed sighting. Because when I was down in the Eastern Cape, they had collars on the black rhinos. And every time the anti-poaching team would try and check where they are, sometimes they knew exactly where they were, but the vegetation or something was too thick, or the terrain, you were unable to drive on it. These things sort of limited to you seeing them. So even though we did have collars, I suppose it wouldn't guarantee us a sighting. Again, it takes the fun out of it, and then I think it's boring and unstimulating, to be perfectly honest. So I'm quite glad that the animals don't have any collars on it. And luckily for us, the two leopards you've been watching are uncollared and having a great Sunday afternoon.
Oh, you can see now that Hosana is just dropping everything from the tree now. So these hyenas are so very much patient. They're not worried. Even if it's taking 2 days, they know that food is going to come. So now you can see that they are having their time now. So high up there we have got Hosana, who is trying to get something. Nick, as time goes on, Hosana is going to get quite a lot of testosterone level, and mostly that happens when the cat oh, there's something going on here. There's quite an interesting competition at the moment. So these kinds of cats, when they're older than 4 years, is when they start to challenge each other for the territory. So there are possibilities of this little Hosana chief to fight against Tingana to take over as time goes. Look at that now. You can see these animals are chasing each other, and one of them is just coming from the water hole. I can see he has been resting. Maybe he's coming from down there by the Twins Dam. So this is what is called the interspecific competition, when you find the species of the same species fighting for the same food source. So that one is looking high up there, still hoping something's gonna come. So this one was lucky because he's dealing with a skull now. So the whole skull just got landed and he managed to grab it so quickly. So you can hear them breaking these kind of bones. So these animals, they've got a very... Rashni, the hyena sound when they are communicating is interesting, and they've got different calls. It's amazing listening to them. I love hyenas. Look at that. That one is thinking, is just saying, unfortunately, I don't have right equipment to climb this tree. But if I had, I was going to come up there. Is the one who did not manage to get a piece when these small pieces were falling from this tree. I must see now this little chief is just feeding on some of the legs. I can't say if it's the front or the hind legs, but now it's just dealing with the legs. He's trying to open everything and it's becoming very difficult. That's why he's battling to hold this kill, because he's just now trying to get something from the legs. I don't think there is much left there. You see, I think it's got all 4 legs at the same time there. Hosana might end up leaving, but I don't think Tingana's going to challenge Hosana for what is left now, unless maybe Tingana wants to go and verify if indeed there is nothing left now at that carcass. So you can see now he is just licking the bones. So now let's go back to Tristan, who is now driving somewhere around the Mulwati area.
I am indeed. We're still trying to see if we can find any signs of Atandi and Tlalamba in with, obviously, Herbie. He's got the tracks where he is. So we're a little bit behind him. We need to try and get around him and try and cut off certain blocks to try and help them a little bit. So we're heading in that direction at the moment, and hopefully we will have a little bit of luck. And, you know, we were kind of checking around Gari Cutline because we weren't sure if maybe this is where Tlalamba was left. But now that Herbie's got tracks for both, it's going to help us a lot because we can kind of get around that area, and hopefully we'll be able to find these two somewhere in that area. It's a very, very tricky section that Herbie's in at the moment. There's big undulating drainage lines, which is perfect for a leopard, but not ideal for us and our vehicles. Our vehicles do not get in there very well at all, and so we're going to hope that they've kind of maybe just skirted and either lying up on the banks, or they're at least in an open section that we can actually access and get to. So it's going to be a bit of a tricky find. I think the best bet is probably Herbie and Taylor and them finding it on foot while we kind of just skirt the edges and hope that they don't cross over the road. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to close off blocks and hope that we can help them in that way. What's nice about today is that they've dragged the roads. You can see the roads in front are smooth, smooth, smooth. So they've taken tires just to level everything up. This is what well, Rexon actually does most of this, and so he kind of cleans up the surface of the roads because they get a little bit bumpy with all the vehicles, and this just puts sand in all the little holes and keeps the roads in good condition. It just so happens that it's really useful for when we're tracking. It kind of cleans the road so nicely, it makes tracks really easy to see, and so we know if they've walked over areas that have been dragged, well, those are fresh tracks from during the course of this afternoon, which will be very helpful indeed. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to find these two leopards. Now, we saw with Sydney that Hosana is busy dropping bits of meat and feeding the local hyena population. Well, he's had a few disagreements with them this week, and it's all part and parcel of his learning curve.
A familiar figure of a cat in a tree greeted us as dawn broke. It was Hosana, and he had safely stashed his kill. Happy with its position, he descended to rest. The thud of his landing attracted the waiting hyenas. Hosana, clearly irritated by their arrival, slunk towards the tree. He growled and gave a small charge in an attempt to see off his pesky enemy. The hyena promptly retreated, leaving a growling Hosana at the base of the tree.
Well, poor Hosana is tough when there's lots of hyenas around, but he certainly does front up. He's quite brave for a young leopard. I mean, you must remember he's only 2 years and 8 months old. He's not exactly a very big male leopard and intimidating and imposing just yet, but he's got that confidence and kind of bravery in him that he'll often try and take on a hyena one-on-one. The thing is, though, is as soon as it gets more than that, he's learned that he's got to get out of there and try and kind of move off. But I was quite impressed with him. It's amazing to kind of watch him hissing and snarling and actually even charging a little bit at those hyenas in a way of telling them, back off, this is my tree with my kill, I don't want you here. So he really is kind of being good about it, and he's learnt a lot. But he used to kind of cower away from them, whereas now he's going to eventually kind of get to that big male leopard attitude where it's like, I will challenge you if it's for food, but he's also still clever enough to know that more than one is a very dangerous thing. We saw it this morning with him, is that he actually, you know, had a bit of a hissing match with one hyena, a little intima, and then as soon as another one arrived, he was not having any of it and moved off towards the base of another tree that he could then escape. So he knows that he's got to get towards escape routes and trees, and that's always very, very, very interesting. And I think what happened there with that particular sighting is that Hosana, probably the reason why he was a little bit more aggressive than he normally is that hyena got to the point that it was his escape route. So there wasn't too many other trees around there, and so he kind of pushed that hyena away so that if the hyena did charge at him, he could then get up into that marula and get to safety. So it was a very clever maneuver by Hosana, and like I say, he is a cunning cat and has learned a lot of valuable things over the course of this winter. And his short little life is kind of progressing much faster than some others, given the amount of time that he had to spend on his own. So it's amazing to kind of watch him go about his business, and his instinct is really very, very good. Right, we're going to try and, like I say, help out Taylor and Herbie, and the best way for us to do that is to go past Gallagher Pan and then shoot up Gallagher's shortcut, and then there's a little road that links up to the fire break, and that's probably where Tundi, if she does go anywhere, is going to head, and so that's where we're going to try and help out and see what we can find. In the meantime, though, let's send you back across to David in the Masai Mara. I'm glad that his tech issues have been sorted, and it's always good to have him with us.
Well, it's time for celebration to most of the cats, as we have seen with Hosana, but also the lions here in the Mara Triangle are celebrating those wildebeest you see in the background, and I think one of them early today, as you can see, was brought down. Not sure what time these two females did that, but most likely it could have been mid-morning. They brought down one of the wildebeest of the many thousands we got. Well, this happens a lot this time around for the migration, and if there could be a male here, he could easily come and intimidate these two girls, and he'll tend to eat until he is full to allow them to eat. Now, what I'm talking about is, in the bush here, males will always display dominance, even amongst themselves. Kipuli arrived to survey his territory, only to find two unwanted guests. One brazen enough to mate with Butternut, a female from the Owino Pride. Kipuli zeroed in on one of the nomadic males and made quick work of the short-tailed fellow, chasing him far and away out of his sight. Later in the afternoon, Kipuli returned to deal with the second intruder. The young nomad charged at Kipuli to protect his prize, but she chose to leave the gentleman to square out their differences. The duel was heated but brief. The young, inexperienced nomad was no match for the seasoned veteran. Kipuli returned to his staff. Butternut returned as well, immediately offering herself
to the victor. The amorous pair spent the rest of the day together doing their best to create the next generation of these iconic cats of the Mara.
Well, that was very epic. Epic in the sense that it shows dominance on that one particular male. You saw there was a bigger male that we call Kipuli. Kipuli translates to, if you look carefully on his nose, the right side has a small slit. That's why we call him Kipuli. And Kipuli is a local Swahili word. Now, these two boys here seem to be just dragging this carcass and eating it. And what Kipuli did there on that fight, I have noticed males in general will fight for two reasons. Either number one, for mating rights, especially the lions, or for food. So Kipuli this particular time was mating with two other males for breeding right on that one female there that we call butternut. And that particular female, as I said there, comes from a pride of lions called the Oinos. And it showed you that Kipuli still has many days to reign in his staff, and he is still very in charge. Now we've got two young boys here, which are just devouring this wildebeest. And I think, as I said earlier, they brought it down most likely mid-morning. And my guess is they belong to a particular pride of lions that we call the Olololos. And chances are they might have been shown the door. And boys at a particular age, 2.5, they'll be told, go, live your life, get your own wives, get your own territory. And I think they're doing well, because this is the second time I'm seeing them with a killer on their own. They have always been depending on the whole pride to get food for themselves. Please remember, this is a very interactive safari drive we do here. So should you have any questions or any comments, send them over. So to the left there, you can see there's another boy and a youngster too. He must have eaten earlier and have been resting on the shade because of the heat of the day. And I'm sure the grass cover is helping him in that bush. Chris, from the look of this meat, to me it doesn't look bad. And I can tell you, until tomorrow, this will carry them on until tomorrow, maybe the day after. Lions, Chris, are very good in energy saving, so I think they'll stick on this wildebeest. It looks like, to me, it wasn't an adult, fully grown one. And if you look at the size of the ribs there, they don't look very large for like a fully grown wildebeest. I'm talking of a mass of 250 kilograms or about 600 pounds of a prey. So to me, those ribs look slightly smaller. And it might carry them another 2-3 days. Now let's find out what the other predator is doing in South Africa.
You can see now that the hyenas, they are enjoying everything on the ground. Suddenly, Hosanna managed to drop the whole kill. He doesn't have anything at the moment. It's only the hyenas having something. So the hyenas are well equipped with the tooth, which are strong enough in order to deal with these legs, both front and the hind legs. They are just crashing the bones here. And quite a lot of competition is going on. They are fighting a lot for these remains. So you can see that now it seems like Hosanna is trapped as the hyenas are feeding right under the tree. It's time for Hosanna now to clean himself. You can see that he's starting to lick his front leg so that he can clean his face and also clean everywhere where there's blood. You can see that the blood is just everywhere around the toes and the claws. If this cat don't clean this kind of blood, it is going to stink, and the prey are going to sniff him from a distance. It's time for grooming now. So now let's go to Taylor, who got a several.
We have indeed got feathers, and I didn't kill this bird, so I wonder who devoured this feathered creature. Now, with the footprints that we've been seeing of Thandi and Tlalamba, it kind of tells a story. And my, immediate thought is that Tlalamba is practicing her hunting skills. And, of course, an unsuspecting dove, which it kind of looks like that's what it was, very grey feathers. And then if we look at a wing that I have in my hand, to me that kind of screams a turtle dove. Maybe it could also be a red-eyed dove. It could be either one of the two. But one of them caught it, and like I said, something so small, I don't know, would really catch the attention of Thandi. I think gone are her days where she plays around like a kitty cat. But Tlalamba, on the other hand, she would have had an absolute field day. Now, the tracks are going up and down in the drainage line and back out the other side. So we're just kind of sussing out what's going on and where we should go from here. I'm not actually sure when the last time Tlalamba was seen on camera. I haven't seen Thandi or Tlalamba once since I've been back, so I think it's been a couple of weeks now. But we know she's around because we're seeing 2 sets of tracks. So even though we're not necessarily getting to capture her all the time, at least we know that she's still alive and she's doing well. I suppose that is the most important thing. I know you were all very worried the other day, and those hyenas were eating the scraps of something, and it was just a coincidence. Thandi was calling Tlalamba and she wouldn't come out, but maybe Tlalamba was a bit nervous of the hyenas and she didn't want to be around them, which I don't blame. Poor Craig is now trying to duck and dive. We're trapped. Let's go this way. We've got to try and avoid some of the trees. Okay, well, we're going to keep on searching around here as you can manage, and hopefully we'll also be able to find a leopard this afternoon.
You can see that now Hosana is still here by the tree, and on the ground the security is very tight. He doesn't want to come down. So this cat has been experiencing quite a lot of challenges earlier this week. Let's see how he has been experiencing things. At Hosana's unattended kill. The scent of Hosana still lingering meant he was not interested in the kill, but rather waited for Hosana's return. The two had been seen once before, where Hosana had made a hasty retreat. This encounter was no different, as Hukumuri spotted an unsuspecting Hosana. Hosana likely had enough of a head start, and using all his speed, managed to narrowly escape the charging Hukumuri. Witnessing a sighting like this is very much rare. These kind of big cats, they do challenge each other for territorial purposes. What we saw, it was, I'm sure, a territorial fight. It's just that Hosana is not yet ready to retaliate when it comes to the territorial activities. Ivy, on the ground, that is true. The security is very, very tight indeed. I have got 3 hyenas at the moment, and all these hyenas, they are just everywhere. I can see he's trying to check if he is going to pass, but it's going to be difficult. And him and these hyenas got quite a lot of encounters before. So you can see that is the one who managed to go away with a big piece, and he's trying by all means to defend. The other ones, when coming there, he's just fighting. Look at that. So now let's go to the Masai Mara, where David is very lucky with the lions at the moment.
Well, what a timing, because the other boy just rose up, and I'm sure he wants to head to the kid. Let's find out. His belly looks pretty full. Are you having a limp, or just because you've been laying down? You don't seem... Oh, okay, don't want to eat. Boom. Typical of lions. Sleep, snooze. But at least we got the brother here, who doesn't seem to be full and hungry, and still trying to shear the meat out of the bones. You can see the rib cage now, and most likely all the stomach contents are gone. I can't see any. Rarely will lions eat the stomach contents. Rosalind, it depends on, number one, I would say how clear maybe the wind is, the age, and I would also say the size of the lion, because we have some males, for example, the one you saw earlier that had a fight, called Kipuli, and on clear days, good wind, open area without much obstruction, they can comfortably, or you can get them like even from 5 miles away. 5 miles away, it's very possible to get a roar of a big lion. And especially after the rains, what happens after the rain, any scent marking they have done, it goes. Or when they just scent in the air, a little bit concern of competition of other males wanting to come in. They'll want to pass the message out and clear there. And then that particular time, they're very loud to make sure the roar goes as far as possible. So if they're 5 miles, 9 kilometers, you can hear on a clear day lion roar. Now these ones here are youngsters, and I highly doubt maybe they can do anything that can go over 1 mile. Must be a very hungry boy, eh? Roshni, I'll tell you, Kipuli is the king, because Ali, and I'm sure you watched Kipuli seeing off the youngster there. We were there in the morning, and there were 2 males, and they were nomadic males because they're 2 males we have never seen before. And early morning, we just met when Kipuli was doing some quick work on the first male, and we have always thought males are huge, lazy, can't run, but Kipuli gave that other nomadic lion a chase. We estimated of about 2 miles, non-stop, run, 2 miles. And of course, the nomadic youngster there was no match to Kipuli. He came back and he rested under a tree like 50 meters away from the other youngster or the other nomadic male that was mating with a butternut female that comes from the Owino pride. And this was in the afternoon. And I've been thinking since that time, why didn't he come straight to the other male? He did not, and he chose first to rest. And we thought of it with Manu the other day, and we were thinking, well, did he stop there to lay a strategy, to re-energize, to have a plan? And the moment he woke up, Rosalind, he went straight to that nomadic male, and it never took him more than 15 minutes to deal with him, down, dust, and off he went. And I agree with you. Great comment. Kipuli will remain the king of this area for quite some time. Well, let's find out what the beautiful Taylor got now.
We've got beautiful tracks. Handsome David. We're looking at a leopard track. Let me quickly use this. Now, it's quite windy today, so there's the back of the pad over there. Here are the toes, that you can see. Now, these are Tandi's footprints. Tlalamba's tracks are just slightly smaller than hers still. Now, here's one. Here's the next paw. And then there's quite a big gap from where she jumps to next, which is over here. You can just sort of see it. And then she goes across over there. So that's a pretty big stride. And Tandi's not a particularly large cat. So Herbie has suggested that she's moving swiftly. And those don't look too old either. It's exceptionally windy, so the tracks are being quite blown. And we've been walking now in this area for about, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes, just going really, really slowly, going back on tracks, coming back. And obviously on roads like this, it's the easiest to spot them. But with all the grass sort of dying, we've actually been really lucky. We've had a track here and then. You can see how sandy it is, sort of in between the grass. Now, Tandi, she's okay on foot. She kind of just stares at you from a distance, but we know that Tlalamba is with her. Tlalamba is very nervous. Tlalamba is probably going to run off when she sees us. She doesn't really seem to be as comfortable with us on foot, but that's okay. So I'm glad that Tristan's in the area. We've actually just had a conversation with Tristan. He's going to loop on around and go down Gallagher Road, and hopefully they're still in between this block. Ideally, we want Tristan to find the leopards before us, because we don't want to keep chasing Tandi and Tlalamba, if that's the reason why they're running, is because they're nervous. So we'd rather just have them pop out, and Tristan kind of just gets them. That's the idea anyways. Eagle spout, yeah, I'm pretty sure that a mother, constantly is telling their youngster to keep away from danger, and they learn what danger is. They obviously start to listen out for sounds and things like that. You know, if you hear anything running, like the sound of a hyena, Tlalamba's first reaction is probably not to hang around and wait, like maybe Mom would stand and snarl and assess the situation. Young Tlalamba is probably still racing in trees or running away, putting as much distance between her and a potential threat. She knows she's small, she's young, she can't really defend herself, and to be honest, Mom can only do so much. So those natural instincts will also kick in, and of course with Mom constantly mentoring her as she grows up, that is definitely going to help her keep safe. Now, like I said, Tristan is not too far away. He's just slightly to the west of us, and has probably got some nice light on the ground, which will help him spot the tracks.
Well, we do indeed. It's beautiful light now. Perfect time to find Thandi. And what we're basically doing is we found those tracks that Taylor just showed you as well, and we are a little bit to the north, kind of west of where they are, in the direction that those tracks are heading. So we're going to try and close off the block and see. And Herbie and I reckon that we don't think that she's come out of this block. But what I wanted to show you is something that's quite interesting. We've seen it before, and I'll just show you one more time. But would have been nice if maybe these two leopards had come here just to investigate it, given that this carcass has dangled in this tree for well over a year and a bit now. So there is an impala carcass that was some reason left in the tree itself. Why it was left in there by whoever put it up, I'm not quite sure. You can see how dry it is now. It's literally just bones that are there, and it really is quite amazing that it's still kind of intact, hanging. There's a bit of skin that must be like leather by now, and that's just dangling now. I wouldn't have been surprised if Tlalamba, who's always quite curious, maybe tried to go and have a little check of it and go and see what that was. But alas, no sign of them here. I don't see any tracks of them either coming out, going northwards as yet. And so I'm hoping that what they've done is found a termite mound or something that they're lying on. And it would be very nice if we would be able to kind of find her on one of those. Now, talking about carcasses hanging from trees, Hosana, as much as he's brave with the hyenas, unfortunately this week, well, he wasn't as good as hoisting and keeping it up in the tree.
After his successful defense against the hyena in the morning, Hosana enjoyed the spoils of his hard-earned meal. He somehow had dropped his kill late in the afternoon, and the thought of trying to hoist it back up the tree crossed his mind. But for some reason, Hosana decided to play with his carcass instead, and he dragged it around, getting further from the tree. The noise of his antics was bound to attract the wrong kind of attention. The hyena, looking to level the score, barreled in, and Hosana had no choice but to abandon his carcass and run. Looking pleased with itself, the hyena dragged the carcass off to feed. The battle was not over, however, as Hosana tried under the cover of darkness to steal his prize back. Unfortunately, by then, the hyenas were having none of it, and they sent Hosana scuttling off to watch as the remains of his kill were devoured.
Unfortunately, Hosana has to learn some lessons, and we're saying that he's learned a lot, but he's still got some lessons to kind of continue to learn, and dropping a carcass and not hoisting it straight away once again is one of those lessons. Unfortunately for him, for some reason, he got it into his mind that he didn't need to hoist it. He dragged it around and played with it a little bit, and then unfortunately lost it, which I'm really not surprised about. And what surprised me with that whole thing is that he had actually seen a hyena before that, so it's not like he didn't know hyenas were around. Maybe he just thought it wasn't really worth hoisting the kind of bones that were left, but he lost out quite quickly, unfortunately, and as soon as more hyenas arrived, well, that was the end of that for poor little Hosana, and he lost out on his meal, unfortunately. But he'll hopefully learn from those, and hopefully he'll continue to kind of grow and be able to recognize that when it dropped, he needs to put it back up straight away. Good. Now we're going to keep moving on and keep going. I didn't copy, Emma, who exactly you said. Can you just give me the name again? I'm going to send you somewhere, but I was just waiting for Emma to tell me exactly who. To the little chief himself with Sydney.
You can see the little chief has just attempted to go down from the marula tree, but the security, it is still very much tight on the ground. You can see he is negotiating an opportunity to come down to the ground here, but it seems to be very difficult. He nearly got off the ground. So, but maybe they are going to give him a chance to come down, as he did help them a lot. He gave them something to eat. They must have to do that. They must return a favor. He must be very thirsty at the moment, as the sun is very, very hot and the wind is blowing too much. After having the meal which was caught yesterday, now the meat was not moisturized anymore. They do have bold trees. This is very much interesting, you can see. But I can promise you, when he got down here on the ground, it will be very much interesting. He's not going to go after these hyenas, but he will come down and just disappear. How he climbed this tree yesterday, it was phenomenal. So he's trying to count the number of meters from where he is to the ground. Then he's sure that the meters are too much. That is very much high. He cannot jump to the ground. He must have to go down a little bit and then jump. Francis, sometimes, like what I saw yesterday, let me tell you what I witnessed yesterday. When Hosanna went up to this tree, shortly after the Umfokazi ran away, he defecated on these hyenas while he was up, trying to pull the heavy carcass, and they just started just dropping everywhere. It was interesting. It's just that we missed that, but we saw it happening. So now let's go back to David by the Masai Maras. He's still by the lion sighting at the moment.
Well, Hosanna still reminds me of what he is capable of doing, and I'm surprised that he is not getting rid of those hyenas like Kipuli did with the invading 2 male youngsters the other day. Well, the youngster here from the Olololo Pride of Lions, for those who have never joined us before, there are two boys here. There's one feeding at the moment, and they belong to a Pride of Lions that we call the Olololos. He has been feeding rather long without the brother, I would say. And you can see the brother there just laying down, but from the look of his belly, he is just so full. You can see the panting on him. And most likely he must have eaten before the other male. It's always easy for a pride of lions, especially a female becomes in estrus, it always tend to go away and mate with another or a male in a coalition of lions, and then after mating's over, she'll always come back and rejoin her pride. After her honeymoon with Kipuli, Butternut was in search of the rest of her pride. She called for a while and eventually stood, seeming to have picked a scent in the air. A few minutes passed, and our suspicions were proven correct. She bounded with joy towards her daughter, who seemed less enthused to see her mother. After a few nuzzles to reaffirm their bond, the pair settled in for an afternoon snooze. When we came across the pride the next day, the entire pride was all together and had managed to catch a wildebeest to celebrate their reunion. The young male now bears superficial wounds that he acquired while Butternut was away mating. The Owinos fed throughout the day and would not allow the vultures to share in the hard-won meal. They relocated their meal and brought it closer where they could keep an eye on it from the comfort of the shade. The vultures had to settle for the wildebeest remains, proving that nothing ever goes to waste in the wilderness. Now, you notice that big female there is called the butternut, and she had gone away to mate with the king of this area that we call Kipuli. And as she came back, you'd see how lions tend to greet each other after a reunion. Now, Butternut has 2 daughters in that pride that we call the Owino pride, and as soon as she came back, she was very welcomed. As much as the daughter did not seem very excited, I would imagine she was a bit upset. The mother had been away for quite some time. In the Owino pride, there's one youngster, I would say the same age or size with the one you see on your screen there, and one of the other bigger females in that pride of Owino is the mother of that youngster. And I think Butternut is the pathfinder or the matriarch in that particular pride. And as soon as she went away, the youngster went away too. And Diane, I'll tell you, male lions to me sleep slightly bit more than the females. But the females getting the same, I would say, needs that males have. Food, drink. If they would get anything or all what they would want, they would tend to sleep as long as the males. But in general, males tend to sleep more. Out in the bush, I've found out females, when they have a kill, they have eaten enough, they have had some water to drink, they would sleep as much as the males. Not much of a difference. So saying earlier, there's a youngster in the Owino pride, the same size as the one we have here, that is just devouring this particular wildebeest. And, excuse me about my head there, I do not know where this boy is taking this kill. And that youngster in the Owino pride, as soon as the Butternut, who I would think could have been his aunt, left, he also decided to go and wander around on his own. And he was trying, I guess, to join another coalition of males. And he was battered, and he had no choice but to come and rejoin the pride. So we are trying to follow him. We've been looking for him the last few days to see the improvement or the healing of the wound. Not very deep. To me, they looked very superficial. So he should be able to heal very quickly. But how interesting that cats, after they finish mating, and I'm talking about including leopards and cheetahs, once the mating's over and we assume the female has conceived, they always part ways, and the female will always rejoin her pride, and maybe the male, well done there, Manu, will join the coalition. Very good. Not sure. I want to reposition here and see what this particular lion wants to do, because I think the vultures are trying to come around here, and as soon as the lions see the vultures, they'll tend to be alert and get rid of them. But in the meantime, as I reposition, let's find out what other predators Sydney got.
The security is now getting more tight. Another hyena just arrived. Now it's about 4 hyenas under a tree. So I don't think Hosanna will be able to come down now. And there is even some activities happening amongst the hyenas themselves, as they're still challenging each other with regards to the remaining food. But only one amongst the 4 is having something to eat at the moment. It is surprising seeing that another hyena just arrived now and no greeting ceremony is happening. When these animals are feeding, they can be protective. All they're doing now is protecting what they have. So you can see now as well that high up there on a tree, Hosanna is right facing them. Giorgio, the hyenas can hear very well, and they can sniff, and every time when they're lying down, their concentration is highly on the carcass. Any mistake, they can see it. Before it happens, they can read that one's going to fall. The time it drops on the ground, they are there already. It's what has been happening here. So you can see that this cat must be very thirsty or very tired, because this marula tree, it doesn't have quite a lot of broad branches to support him when he's seated there. So it's quite challenging. He's not relaxed at the moment. He's not comfortable at all. Chris, these kind of animals, the hyenas, they've got a very strong digestive system, and also when they listen to that, you can see that there's quite a lot of competition going on here and chasing each other. So these animals, they've got a very strong digestive system in order to dissolve bones. Them and the crocodiles as well as the pythons is one of those animals who are well gifted. So these bones they're chewing here now are not going to last much longer. We are going to see them on the droppings as they are going to turn the color of the droppings into completely white due to a lot of calcium on them. So that is the one who got the bigger piece, always trying to defend and chase the other ones. Giraffe girl, I am very sure that when this cat lands on the ground, the first thing to do must be going to the water hole and then go for a sleep. I'm sure waiting for these hyenas to go away is also tiring for him. He has been there for quite a long time. But I don't think if he comes down here, these hyenas are going to do him anything. Maybe he's just thinking about the other previous experiences. He's not holding any meat. If he was having something like a prey, I was going to say they will chase him for that. But now, there is no need for these hyenas to chase this cat. Look at that. With the reflection of the sun, this looks beautiful. So now let's go back to Taylor on a guided walk, still looking for Tandy.
Well, Tandy has gone west, so basically in that direction where the sun is now about to set. And that's something that is, of course, a bit problematic for us on bushwalkers, that we are only able to stay out during the hours of daylight. So we've had to change direction slightly. We had her tracks crossing the road now on her own. Tlalamba's tracks are not with hers, which means that she's somewhere down there. And we actually heard some francolins making a bit of an interesting sound, but like we've been discussing, Tlalamba's unrelaxed on foot, so she's probably running away from us and just trying to hide away. So we're checking on these big animal pathways that you can see. That makes it quite easy to walk, except when Craig has to get to that tree that's growing out of it. Then it's going to be a little bit on the difficult side to get through. Otherwise, it's actually quite a nice spot. But let's very quickly go back across the leopard up in the tree.
You can see now that he's getting an opportunity. There is he running away from the hyenas now. That was interesting. I told you when he lands on the ground, he must have to run. You can see the hyenas are still going after him. He's going now up into another tree and they are going to trap him again. You can see it's right there. I'm just going to reverse now so that we can see what is going to happen there now. Thank you very, very much, Heidi. And I will pass such a lovely comment to Sebastian for his job well done. So Osana knows very well that the hyenas still wants to confirm if he is running away with something or just avoiding them. So he is right here. Nick, that is a dangerous landing. That must be a very dangerous landing, using hyena as a soft landing, as they can easily retaliate and they will catch him. You can see now he is right by one of the branches. He's not very far away from the ground. He knows very well that where he is now, they cannot reach him. So he's scanning his area now as a little chief. Look at that. He's walking on the branch as if he's on the ground. He still doesn't want to land on the ground. So you can see that now he is trying to look everywhere, because there is some other stations as well having a sighting with me, and he's looking back at the hyenas at the moment. Maybe he's thinking about to go Treehouse Dam or Twins Dam. He's deciding where he can get water this afternoon. The hyenas are not that very fast. The leopards can be very, very fast. The thing is, hyenas can go for a long distance non-stop when they want to go and catch something. So they just keep chasing. So these ones can go very, very fast, but also for a short period. You can see he's now heading much more towards the Treehouse Dam area. So he must be going for the afternoon drink now. But if this cat come across something, he might catch something. I can promise you the cats, they are so very interesting. They just catch anything coming their way, whether they've got a kill or not. You can see that he's not worried about anything. All he's doing is just moving. So I'm just going to now carry on following and see if we can have a better sighting. It has been lovely so far. So he's walking very slowly, so we're just gonna keep following and see where he is leading us to. He's very, very much relaxed at the moment. So now, let's go to David by the Mara, who's got some lions who are eating something.
Well, I still have the lions, but before we look at those lions again, I want us to look at that beautiful sunset. And as I said earlier, luckily I had Manu on camera today, because there's one thing he never misses to show me is when the sun is leaving us in this part of Africa. Who would not want to watch that? With all the beautiful and romantic and the most peaceful colors you'd think of in your mind on an early evening like now. And also M in the final controls. That is pretty stunning. And we got a lioness. I mean, the male lion that was eating before, I'm not sure it's looking the same direction, enjoying the sunset. Or it might have sensed some strangers maybe coming to sneak on their kill. And my guess is there's some other predators, because we're not very far from the North Clan. There are other predators that anytime lions make a hunt, they'll always try and come and snatch their food. At the North Clan den, Waffles had moved her cubs to a new barrow. But inexplicably, she decided to move them back to their original nest. The cubs, however, seem to have grown quite fond of their new apartment. The commander-in-chief would not be defied. With a firm grip on the dominant cub, she walked with purpose, while the second cub had no choice but to follow closely behind. Once relocated, Waffles made herself comfortable, while the young ones wasted no time settling in for a feed. Well, he is still looking in a particular direction, and my only guess, if anything would worry him now, could be hyenas. We are not very far from the North Clan group of hyenas, and this is the area they like roaming. And the lions clearly know a combination of 5, 6 hyenas, that's a good number to come and snatch this kill from them. So just wondering what he is looking at, and me and Manu are looking. We can't see anything, but you can tell he is looking at intent. He has focused in a particular direction. The only thing I saw from a distance was an ostrich, and I don't think an ostrich should be a concern to these two boys here. You have seen how or why I call Waffles the commander-in-chief of the North Clan. And most predators will always carry their cubs by the neck, and trying to imagine maybe the neck doesn't, they can't hurt their cubs by the neck, enough muscles just to have the grip of their teeth there. Junglean hyenas have so many ways of communication, but I think they are more vocal than using their body language, like the tails. Lions, I know for a fact, they'll always use their tails when they communicate, and especially when they're having a strategy to hunt. Hyenas, they'll only communicate using their tails if there's a bit of dominance. You'll see how they just coil or cook up their tail upwards, and that's always a clear message. I'm in charge here. So yes, I would say they may use their tails once in a while to communicate. But at night, when you would imagine it's so dark, they're always very vocal. Proud cat mama, I can tell you, lions have many vocalization, and ideally the main ones is to communicate if, for example, they have lost touch with each other. We saw butternut on another clip when you'd go, and that's normally for the females, and that's when they are trying either to locate their cubs or to locate the main group. That's the sound they'll make. And for the males, their main vocalizations, either when they want to re-establish the territories or when they think we could be having other males come into their territories, they go, I'm not sure, proud cat mama, you can do that, but those are the two main ones. But once in a while, I'm sure there are other many calls that we never pick up, but those two will be basically to relocate each other in the pride. And when males need to command or just send a big roar out there, this is our territory. And if proud cat mama, there could be a coalition of 2 or 3 males, they might go in stages. You might have the first one going, and then the second one will come with a different pitch, and the third one. And I think the message they send out there, we have so many lions here, please don't come and play games, and we own this area. I do not know until when these boys will be able to roar like me, if not actually the fully grown males like Kipuli. Manu, are you willing to roar for me tonight? Yeah. Are you able to do that now? Well, proud cat mama, I don't know what you think of Manu's roar, but I think it's not bad, but I think Manu is still young, so I think he is trying to show the way forward to these youngsters here. But the very big males like Kipuli, when you hear them roar, and if you happen to be close to them, back in my village, because them days we had lions not very far from where we still live even now, a friend of mine was telling me he had a big male lion roaring, but not very close from where he was. But he told me he almost had, like the ground was vibrating, and he could not even move anymore because of the huge and loud roar from that male lion. We established the following morning when he went looking at the tracks. Actually, the lion was about a mile away. But in the meantime, let's go across to Hosanna.
I can see that now Hosanna has just arrived by the treehouse dam. He is now having his drink, and he was also very much curious when coming down here. So I can tell you, if anything comes here, he is going to take an action. Look at that. This is a normal behavior. The cats, after having a meal, they must have to come down to the water holes and have something so that they can be able to quench their thirst. It's very hot at the moment in the area. Dehydration is very easy. If they're not drinking, they are going to battle too much with the heat. That must be difficult, drinking from the tongue. So these tongues have quite a lot of purpose because it's the one that these cats are using in order to scrape the hairs when they catch a prey. So it has got some kind of spines. It's like a sandpaper which helps them in order to open the spaces in order to get rid of these hairs before they eat, because the build-up of these hairs in the stomach gives them problems. That's why you will see some of them, they are able to vomit some of the hairballs, and you will see them very big. I have seen a very big hairball not long time ago on a guided walk, which was for the first time. I thought they can only create small balls, but sometimes they can even create strings of these hairs. Rocky, that is very true. This animal is learning very quickly because anytime soon he's going to be independent. He must have to learn to adapt all these other survival strategies. Look at that. So, but I think it's good that Hosanna is depending a lot on his own kill. He's still very young. It won't be good for him to go and scavenge after the other big males such as Tingana. He must have to give them a chance. They are old. He has got quite a lot of strength. He can run fast. He must do hunting for himself. So the relationship between Hosanna and Tingana is very excellent at the moment, but as time goes on, they are going to look at each other like what we are seeing there, the reflection of the eyes looking at at Hosanna drinking, and big fights are just going to take place. Yash, I've just lost your question. Something happens to my communication. If Emma can repeat that question for me. It is a glass. That is quite a very lovely comment. I think at this stage, there's no need for that. So you can see that the nose is still very pink, which makes it very easy for me to identify. It's nice and clean now, doesn't have blood anymore. Now I can identify Hosanna from Tingana. So now let's go back to Tristan, who is now busy doing some trekking activities around the reserve.
We do indeed, Sydney. So while Hosanna's drinking, Thandi is steadily mobile, as you can see. She's on top of all the places where they've dragged tires during the course of today. And I think we're quite far behind her. There's one dove track that's on top. Otherwise, her track's on top of everything else. But she's moving so far. We're already on Zoe's road. We're actually heading down to where all the boys are at the moment. So I wonder if she's not somewhere down that area and is kind of about to hit the Hosanna Tingana sighting. So we're just trying to see where she goes from here. I can't see if she's carried on the road. No, she's gone off this side, which means that she must have gone. What are those tracks there? No, now she's cut back over the road. She really is everywhere by the looks of things. It's just on top of this sort of graded section. I just want to check if it's her or a hyena. That's a hyena that's gone that way. Okay, so she seems to have cut off and maybe move down this side. I just want to double check where she's going, but I have a funny feeling she's going to go off the road here and she's going to head straight towards the sort of Philemon's Dip area, pump house. That's her general route. So I want to try and head in that direction as well. But I fear that we maybe have gotten here too late. We needed to get to this point early this afternoon. I reckon she walked here just about the time we started game drive, maybe a little bit before that. So it's a bit frustrating that we've kind of so far behind her. I was hoping that we'd be much closer than what we are. So far I can't see where she's gone from there. Did she cut back, Vildi? Maybe she went into the block going west and didn't actually come south east. Now it doesn't look like anything is crossing this road. I've got to go back to that last track, which is not ideal. When she's walking on the road, it's quick and easy and we can track fast, but as soon as she changes direction and cuts off the road, it becomes a bit of a problem because we're trying to kind of figure out which way she goes, and her movement's been so erratic. But I'd be very surprised if she went west. She generally doesn't go west at all. Her normal kind of route is to come south from where those tracks are and to head down towards Philemon's area. I wonder what's got her so jumpy today that she's moved so far. She really has walked almost the entire length and breadth of Djuma at this stage, particularly if she ends up going straight south like she has been and heads past Treehouse Dam, then you never know. Now I'm just trying to see, where did her tracks cut off? Nothing here. Thandi really can be a tricky cat to find, and we're running out of light, and that's the biggest problem. Is if we had more light we would be able to find her a lot easier. Not ideal right now. Okay, I'm gonna have a little look here. See, her tracks are on the left, so I just want to see which way she actually goes, and while I do that, let's send you back across to the Bushwalk team.
Well, we've given up on trying to find Thandi because she's too far away from us and we can't quite move at the speed as what she does. So we're back where we started at Galago Pan. We're definitely not going to go searching for Tlalamba, where we can't know where she is. She's down in that direction, waiting for Mom to come back. Perhaps Thandi's on a bit of a territorial patrol. She hasn't been doing very many of those lately, so it's best that she comes and remarks here in the western sector. Otherwise, Shidulu might think it's, well, an open plot. Anyways, now it's not just the leopards that we've been chasing after, but a couple of days ago, the Nkuhuma Pride had me going crazy. I knew something was up when I eventually managed to track down the lions that had kept me up all night long. 2 piles of lions just lying off the road, but I didn't recognize the 2 young boys who were severely affected by mange. The Nkuhuma Pride were lying a few feet away from them. It turns out it's the Mangane sub-adult males who have had a rough life, but that didn't stop one of the Nkuhuma lionesses. She growled and charged at the boys. They barely flinched. The Nkuhuma Pride eventually moved off, leaving the Mangane youngsters to continue the hard road that is life. They seemed determined to keep up with the Pride. Interesting times lie ahead. What's jumping in the water? It was me. I just threw a stick. I'm frustrated because the Nkuhuma Pride kept me up, firstly, at, well, very early in the morning. At like 2 o'clock in the morning. They were here, actually, right here. And they drank water. Maybe we'll be able to find some of their footprints. But it has been a bit windy. It's been quite exciting having the lions come back. I'm so sad they weren't able to find themselves a buffalo because they walked all over the buffalo tracks. But they obviously were just too clever for them this time round, or perhaps they did try, but the buffalo won because there were so many of them, could have chased them away. But this seems to be a very popular pad. It's a pump pad. So the lions sat here, they had a drink, and then they actually weren't too far away when we eventually found them up near Mvubu Road. But they didn't hang around for too long. They were just here for almost less than a day, really. Found them in the morning. They did a massive loop, really, really big loop, all the way down south to Chitwa and then back and around. And I think that they're still on Shirley's. From what I can understand, the 2 young sub-adult Mangane males are still with them and keeping close quarters on those lions. Right, off you go back to the Mara Triangle to see what's happening there.
Now, I just found out these 2 youngsters, their attention was not to the hyenas that I guessed before, but some vultures. The vultures you see up there, a few of them started to descend from the tree and trying to sneak on the kill of these two youngsters here. And naturally, the lions, having done such a great job to bring down a wildebeest, they will not allow anybody to come and snatch their meal. But if there were hyenas, I would say, comfortably, they would easily come and grab the food from them. Now, one of them is still eating and not the other. Now, talking about vultures, we earlier saw some two vultures that I told you they're called the lappet-faced vultures or the Nubian vultures. So there's so many flies coming up here because of this kill here. And then I said there are about 7 other types of vultures or 6 species of vultures in Kenya. So I want to show you the other ones. So the one on top left up there, that one is called alamagea, or is called a bearded vulture. It's an immature one that's fully grown there. They're almost extinct. We still have a few, but not as many. But this is not a true vulture. Then the other vultures are these ones you see here. And the most interesting one, sorry, what about that vulture? The wingspan, Chris, of vultures could be anything up to 3 meters. Sorry, I got your question now. The wingspan of some of these vultures, Chris, could be up to 3 meters. But the largest, the largest in terms of, you see that one, Manu there? So this one here is what we just saw on that tree there. And it doesn't have as big wingspan, I would guess, as the one below. This is the first one that we saw. This is called the Nubian vulture, or the lappet-faced vulture. Lappet because if you look carefully on the head, it's not covered by any feathers. But almost same size of wingspan. This one here, Manu, being slightly larger, maybe by a few inches, a few centimeters. But in terms of flight, the one there that we call the Rufous griffon vulture flies highest. It may not have a big or large wingspan, Chris, like the lappet one, but it flies the highest. And I think could be the highest flying bird in the world, 37,000 feet, like a jet. So those are the 6 true other vultures, including the one we saw earlier, the lappet, 7 true vultures that we got in Kenya. The lappet-faced, the white-backed, and then the Rufous griffon vulture, and the palm nut vulture. And not forgetting the hooded vulture, which is right where. That's the hooded vulture right there. Very good. Now the lion is not stopping to eat. He still keeps eating as we go back to find out the brother. But one of them still keeps looking in a direction like something is coming. But whatever is coming or whatever he is wary of, I do not see and I do not know what it is. But I'm sure there could be something. And I'm not sure if Hosanna is equally worried like these two youngsters here, or this one particular youngster that's not eating.
You can see that now Hosanna is right up by the dam wall, listening to what is happening in the surrounding. He is replying to every call. All the birds in the area is trying to get the rest of the information about who is in this area. I can see that his head is not settled and the ears are swiveling all the time. He is right on top and he is watching what is happening from the ground. When the birds are calling this side, it's checking. When they're calling on the other side, it's checking. It's just confused at the moment. But looking at where he is now, he's on the road and the grasses are camouflaging him. Murphy, Hosanna will be able to take over from his dad as soon as he retires. I can see that now he still have got quite a lot of strength. I saw that when he was now defending the new girlfriend a few days ago. That was about a week ago. And now Hosanna is gaining quite a lot of strength, and as time goes on, he is going to challenge him and push him out, unless another leopard comes with the strength higher than Hosanna and take over from Tingana. Just like what has been witnessed when Tingana was not feeling well, when Umfokazi came to the area and tried to take over, and when Tingana got better, then he left again. You can see that other males around this area, they're also opportunistic. They are waiting for the chance. So let's see what he's thinking. Rosalind, that is very true indeed. This cat looks very beautiful. Look at that. So, but I think Tandy is the one who looks much more beautiful than Hosanna. Tandy looks very beautiful with the specific beautiful rosette spots. So now you can see Hosanna is thinking about the darkness coming so that he can do his hunting activities. Let's go back to bushwalk.
Hosanna's thinking about the darkness. That's a very unhappy bird. Anyways, speaking of things that make people unhappy, I think hyenas raiding camps is probably quite high up on a lot of people who work in the safari industries list. Anyways, so we actually have had an increase of hyena activity in and around camp, and that of course I think is due to the fact that we have a new hyena den on site, and Corky has been incredible because she's almost been at that den every single day. Watching Corky and her cub, that resembles a bear-like creature, stumble around the den is one of the most precious sights. We suspect that the cub is only in its second week of life. This means that its little legs are still wobbly. Corky has been a great mother, visiting the den regularly to suckle her hungry cub. However, the little one is still not sure of the outside world and often scoots back to the den for safety. You won't be able to hear it, but there's actually hyenas calling in the distance, which is pretty awesome. And we are getting to that crepuscular period now, where everything is going to start to wake up. That typically comes out at night. It's cooled down quite nicely. I actually think it's going to be a fairly chilly evening, so I'm going to be listening out this evening for any footsteps around camp. I'm not actually sure who's coming into camp, but with Corky's den not being very far away, I reckon she'd be a regular visitor along with Ntima and Ribbon. Will be somewhere around here. Then I also spoke to Aubrey, who's one of the guides at Djuma, and he said down on Gallagher Road a couple of days ago, maybe about a week ago now, he said he saw 4 hyenas at an old den site that we used to visit down there. So I don't know what's happening, but tomorrow morning I'm definitely going to head on that way and see if I can see any fresh signs of another den site, which is pretty epic. But anyways, the bushwalk team is running out of light now. Tristan is still hot on the heels of Tandy.
Well, I don't know about hot on the trail. We've kind of thrown the dice here because we're running out of time so much and we really need to get a little bit further ahead to where she might be. We kind of jumped very far to where I think she's going to go, and so the route that she's taking is the one that she takes when it comes through this thicket on my left-hand side. She runs along the drainage and then she comes out at Philemon's Dip. So we've jumped all the way to Rebecca's Philemon's Dip area, and I'm just trying to see now if I can find her. The problem is the light is really getting quite poor, and so spotting her is going to be really tricky in this, but we'll hopefully get some luck. I mean, I think she's somewhere between where we had the tracks and where we are now. Whether she's moving or she's stalking, I don't know. I think she's possibly hunting, and so it might be a bit tricky to spot her, but let's see. You never know. Like I say, you got to roll the dice and if you want to be successful, and so hopefully we're going to get what we need. So Tom, generally with leopards they leave their cubs only after mating, and when they actually start to feel like they're pregnant, then they start to sever that connection. Some females maybe not. So in Salesha's case with Tiani, she left Tiani long before she even fell pregnant. So it just depends on the female. It's difficult to say. I mean, it's always a bit different. You know, obviously with Tlalamba, she had mated while she still had Tamba, still went back to him before she actually continued with, you know, mating and then being pregnant. So it depends. Sometimes they'll do either or. It just depends on conditions and how things are at the time. But I would imagine, given Tandi's history, when she starts to mate, that's kind of her way of then starting to push her youngster away, and once she's pregnant, then she has nothing to do with that youngster very, very quickly. So we'll see how it goes. No, she is habituated to vehicles. She's absolutely fine with vehicles. She's a little bit shy when mom's not around, but otherwise she's okay. I've had many sightings where I've seen her either with me personally or with other guides where she's quite fine. She doesn't seem to be too sort of perturbed. As long as you don't kind of drive fast around her and you just give her a bit of space, she's actually quite fine. She doesn't really stress too much at all. So I don't think she's unrelaxed. She's not a 3-vehicle cat yet, but she'll hopefully, you know, become that way as she gets a bit more independent. Right, well, unfortunately we've run out of time. We've tried to do one last look, but in the meantime, let's send you across to David so you can see what he's up to in the Mara.
Good luck for Tandy and Kalalamba. I mean, I've never forgotten the Queen and I would say the Princess of Juma. I haven't heard of them of late, and hopefully they might be found today before we close the show. Well, the lions, we decided to leave them behind, and we come to the wildebeest and find out the direction they are going. But to me, the direction they are walking to is where those 2 youngsters are. And as much as they're full, we have known lions, even when they're full, they'll take any opportunity that comes on their way. But it's getting pretty dark here, and we're coming almost to the end of my time. You know, me and Manu, it's not over yet, because guys in Juma will be continuing. But I would really want to thank you for joining us and apologize for having started a bit late because of our technical issues. But to all of you, have a very lovely Sunday as you go back to Hosanna.
I am still here with the little chief, and the little chief is very, very, very much relaxed at the moment. I can see that the little chief is not worried about anything at the moment. He's just here resting on top of the on top of the bank of the dam. You can see there, it's not that very far. He's thinking about something. I must have to check now. Oh, there's hyenas drinking at the dam. These are the hyenas who are helping this cat a lot, because they are teaching him how to climb a tree very quickly, and also how to climb down very quickly. So he must have to be thankful to these hyenas sometimes, because if he's not treated like that, he won't be able to use his skills in order to go away from danger as soon as possible. So you can see that now he is right looking at these hyenas. Roman, I didn't copy your question very nicely. If Emma, you can repeat that question for me. Roman, the leopards, if you can check, they don't really have any kind of a strange thing they are doing. They are unlike the lions, which normally win a battle and kill the babies. So these ones, the leopards, they are very much good to me. I don't think they have got anything bad. So you can see now the hyena is drinking there. This hyenas makes a lot of noise when drinking. I can hear that noise from here. So the hyenas, they also prefer to come down here and just play when they are cleaning themselves. So not only birds does that. Even the hyenas, the animals that deal with carrions, for them to get rid of that smell, they're going to have to come here early in the mornings and sometimes late in the afternoon. These days it's also happening during the day. I have seen it by the Twins Dam. So the only animal I haven't seen doing that is the leopards. So the leopards, I think the shade is good enough to cool their body temperature. And they can only use, you look at that, now you can see that hyena has got some lot of blood here on the neck. Unless it's just a reflection, you can see these are the blood that they were falling from the carcass to these animals. So you can see that the little chief is sure that this hyena is gone. It has been a very lovely afternoon with quite a lot of sightings from Mara. We saw lovely lions there, and we also saw interaction of the hyenas and the leopards here in Djuma, where the leopards, two leopards were just close to each other. And let's meet again tomorrow morning.